stylist Lindsey Graham, who owns Glamour Salon in Oregon. I thought that was so disingenuous, the way that they were going at this. And Lindsey is joining us now via Skype amid this fight. Lindsey, good to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. And good on you, by the way. Good on you. Because, I mean, look, you're essential. Your work is essential. Your income is essential. Your bills are essential, which the state could understand that. I thought this was disingenuous, and you took issue with the whole OSHA aspect of this. Talk to us about it.
Oh, absolutely. I believe firmly that their entire investigation was out of their jurisdiction. I made it very clear from the first conversation with them that I have independent contractors, and I cooperated with them, assuming that by the end of the investigation, it would be very clear to them that they were in the wrong and they had no jurisdiction. I submitted documents. They interviewed my stylists. And they even went so far as to asking for text messages between myself and my stylist, trying to find a word that might allow them to deem my independent contractors employees. We very much cooperated with them, and in the end, they made their decision anyway. And my attorney believes it's completely unjust, and we're going to fight it.
Yeah, I would imagine, because as from my understanding, and this is how my stylist here in Dallas, Texas works. I mean, you have a space that is owned or that is leased, and then there are independent contractors that work under that roof, and they set their own hours and they set their own. I mean, basically, they just go by the rules of the facility, the building, and as any other tenant would, and that's it. Is that pretty much? Is that similar to your situation?
That's exactly my situation. I like to compare it to apartment leasing. I mean,
Yep.
You rent a space from me, you pay me for that space, you do what you want to do in that space, the things that we've agreed upon, the services that we're legally allowed to perform. And there are a few things in the contract that, yes, as a salon owner, I would like to see, the independent contractors come in dressed nicely because they're representing this salon. It's like, saying you can rent this apartment, and I don't care what color you paint the front door, and I don't care if you leave your porch dirty and disgusting and your dog, poops all over the lawn. Of course, there are rules in a facility that you're leasing from. And what OSHA is trying to establish is that if I even hint at a dress code, then I'm now their employer. That's ridiculous. And they're reaching. And I'm excited to see a judge hopefully say, nice try. This is a gross overreach. And you can't say that because I asked you not to wear sweatpants in my salon, that now I'm your employer.
Right, exactly. I mean, because then I'm sure somehow in a similar fashion, the argument of Oregon or any other state saying, well, everyone has to wear face masks. Okay, well, by your insane, illogical reasoning, that's how the state then is, the same thing could be established. It's just odd the way that they're trying to come at this to get you, simply because you are reopening, and obviously you, just like everyone else who is reopening, going by the health guidelines in phase 1, et cetera, et cetera. But this, to me, your situation ups the ante and is even scarier than some of the other cases that we've talked about, because they're trying to exploit this OSHA rule and establish you as an employer, because that's a lie. That's false. They're smearing you so they could have a better basis of going at you. Now, when you reopen, tell me a little bit about this, because obviously you, just like everyone else, you have bills to pay. I have friends that own businesses, and they're saying one of them was actually turned away by Chase Bank. They didn't hear back from Chase Bank. They went through the PPP. They went through all of that, and they're still waiting. I know 300,000 people in New Jersey are still waiting to hear back from a number of different banks. So it's not exactly as easy as just getting a loan to cover temporarily. So you, obviously, you have stuff to do. There are people who need to work. Tell me about your situation. Oh, I think Lindsey may have froze on us. We'll try to reestablish that really quickly and see if we can get her back, because she's frozen and we can't hear. But so as they work on that, that's the thing that scares me a little bit, even just a little bit more about this case, because in the other ones, like in North Dallas with Shelley Luther, they were say, oh, well, you violated this order, so we're going to enforce it. But even more so with Oregon, they not only are saying you violated this order, but also you are violating OSHA rules and regulations. And so as a result, we're going to open an investigation. And of course, all of the media that is very friendly to these policies of shutting things down and persecuting business owners that are actually adding to the tax base here. They're now you're abusing this regulation as well. That is incredibly dangerous. So, and there's even another development on this. So Lindsey Graham, on Friday, she said that Child Protective Services were sent to her home last week as a result of this. So it's not just, and she has said she's worked for 15 years. And if we can't establish Skype, let's do phone, please. And she has worked for 15 years as a stylist. And she says, quote, "I'm vowing to stay open as long as I can until the governor tries to take away my entire career." Now, and then she had said that Friday CPS was sent to her home, and she says that it's obviously a false claim, but she thinks it was a political response. So if true, then you would have two government agencies now weaponized to go against a stylist simply because she wants to work and she wants to pay bills and generate income, etc. And so CPS, it was Fox 12 in Oregon. They reached out to the Oregon Department of Human Services, and they also reached out to CPS. And CPS had said, well, due to confidentiality laws, we cannot comment on whether or not there's an open CPS assessment against any individual. And I want to stress, following the governor's stay-at-home, save lives executive order, we're not following distancing guidelines. They said that would never be a reason to assign a CPS assessment. Yet one was assigned, though. And there was no other reason to think that that would be motivated by anything other than political response to this situation. So the way that, there's two reasons why this case even troubles me more so than even Shelley Luther's and even Carl Mankey's, is because, like I said, not just the OSHA thing, but CPS. And we have Lindsey now back on the phone after we had the Skype issue. Lindsey, I'm so glad that we have you back. So I was telling folks, it's not just the OSHA aspect of this that has really troubled me, and which I think really ups the ante in your case even more so than other cases. But you had said that CPS came to your home last week.
Yeah.
Tell me,
Yes.
This is insane. Tell me about this.
Yep. Yes. So I was at work, and my husband had to do some work on his business, hoping that it was going to be reopened. And we had our nanny there with just the baby. And she called me frantic and said some guy was at the door and he was asking all these questions to her. And she said, "I'm just the nanny." And he proceeded to ask her questions, and she is a bright young lady, and she was smart enough to say, I'm not talking to you anymore. You need to call the homeowner. And he gave her his card, and I called him and said, what's going on, and why are you at my house? He was very vague about why he was there, and just said that there were some concerns he needed to investigate. And I said, okay, well, I would love to meet with you, because at this point I had never dealt with CPS in my life, never anticipated I ever would. And I thought, well, let's get him in our home. Let's talk with him. He'll look around and he'll see that this is completely gross accusations and there's no need for him to be investigating us. And then we can be done with it, because I don't need, this additional stress in my life. So we welcomed him into our home on Monday, and he treated it very much like there was, a concerning matter. He questioned myself alone. He separated my husband and I, and then he questioned my husband, and then he insisted on questioning my 6-year-old son, and he insisted that he needed to do it without me present. So I couldn't even be in the room. I even said, what if I don't talk? What if I'm not in his line of sight? Nope, we would prefer that we question him without a parent present. So he went into my son's room, shut the door, and questioned my child while we waited outside. And then he asked to see every room of the house. He opened the fridge. He had me lift up toilet seats. Just very aggressive kind of disappointing, tragic feeling of being violated in your own home.
And I would imagine that traumatized your child.
Yeah, he's a pretty tough kid, and I don't know if it did, because I have no idea what he asked my son. I have no clue what he asked him. So I tried to kind of get some information out of my son. after the fact and said, well, what did Omar ask you? Or did he ask you about mommy loving you? Or did he ask you about how much you eat? And he says, I don't know. So, I mean, it's a
Wow.
6-year-old,
Yeah.
but I'll never know. I'll never know now
And you believe this
he
was
implanted in my child's brain.
right. And you believe this was because nothing like this has ever, and everything that I've read, everyone's like, this is insane. This has never happened. And you think it was because
Never.
you decided to open the salon. I know that the local media there reached out to CPS and they were saying, well, we can't really respond, but it wouldn't be because if someone wasn't practicing social distancing. I have no reason to trust them with the way that they have handled your case. So, and I know that you don't trust
this
that
point.
either.
Nope. I don't trust any government state agency anymore.
Oh my gosh. What's been the community's response to all of this with your story?
The community has been very supportive. I am getting emails and Instagram messages and Facebook messages and even text messages from people that I know. And it's just supportive. It's prayers. It's you're brave. We're behind you. Please keep fighting. You're doing this for all of us. And those are just extremely encouraging.
That's so good. I'm so happy to hear that. I know you had said previously that you're going to stay open until the governor or the state or whomever decides to shut you down or take your business. I mean, obviously you have to work, and so many other business owners are in your exact same situation. What happens next? And if it comes to that, or if I know that they so far had said that there could be like a $14,000 fine associated with this. If it decides to get worse, I mean, how far will it go, and what will you ultimately do?
Well, right now, the OSHA situation is kind of the one that's pending. I need to speak with my attorney to see if we've actually officially received the citation. They did say I was going to get it, but I don't know if it's been officially received or how it's received. But I do know that they had said once they issued that citation, I would have 3 days to close my doors, or they would come back and issue another citation. Now, listen, I am fighting that. It's called an abatement, a 3-day abatement to shut my doors. I'm fighting the abatement as well because I'm fighting the idea that this is not even in their jurisdiction. They are trying to close me down before they're giving me my due process to, my day in court, to a hearing, to saying this citation isn't valid anyway. They're trying to say, well, we're going to shut you down anyway. And what happens when that citation is thrown out and then they've cost me an additional week of lost wages or a month because they didn't give me my due process and I closed my business down.
Right.
So, I mean, it just gets worse and worse.
Oh my gosh. We're going to keep watch on this story. I know a lot of people now, everybody's been following everything that happened in Dallas and then the barber in Michigan. And now all the eyes are looking at you in Oregon. And I know that there's a lot of national support headed your way, but we're going to continue following this. And please keep everybody updated as to what happens next, because this is awful. And you shouldn't have to go through this, and your family shouldn't have to go through this. And it just breaks my heart. I can only imagine as a mom wondering what in the world somebody's telling my kid that it's a government agency coming in. And not only are they saying, well, you don't have right to access your business, they're now saying you don't have right to access your own child as a result of all of this. We're going to question them behind closed doors. That should not happen in a free society. Right. Lindsey Graham with Glamour Salon in Oregon. We're going to continue following this. You hold strong. We got your back. And just keep up the awesome work. I mean, you're really, a lot of people are getting a lot of strength from what you're doing. So keep it up. Thank you so much.